What is up, YouTube? Today is September 22nd, 2025. This is day one of me quitting weed. Not trying to quit, but quitting weed. And today we're going to be finding some motivation. Just to give you guys a little backstory about me. I've been smoking weed for about 9 years now. I started like 2016, so 9 years now, right after high school, straight in college. It's been every day since then, every day since the last 5 years, multiple times a day, 5-10 times a day. But even today, I smoked twice already today, but I've been telling myself that I need to quit for the last 2 years now. The last 2 years, yeah. I've been trying to quit for the last 2 years, but it's real addiction, man. It's just, so if you're right there with me, if you're struggling to quit, maybe you can fast forward and see where I'm at on the journey. But yeah, this is day one. Let's see if we can find some videos that I haven't watched already. Already saw that one.
Dr. Troutman, how hard is it to quit weed?
It would depend on the person. If you're someone who, for whatever reason, has decided you wanted to quit weed and you wanted to stop using THC, a couple questions I would ask. Are you aware that it's not as addictive, say, as benzos or opioids or alcohol? It doesn't cause that type of physical withdrawal, but it can cause a psychological dependence that can be hard to quit, number one. Number two, the question I would ask is, why were you using THC? If it were for chronic pain or for PTSD, of course, those things could reemerge if you stop using. So the psychological dependence and the reemergence of the reasons why you were using it, those are the things that could make weed difficult to stop, even though it doesn't have those notoriously dangerous withdrawals like the other big substances. Live chat or call us in our profile for a free addiction assessment. Follow us for more addiction and recovery information. Check out the page in our profile for more info on this topic.
Dr. Troutman, how hard?
Benefits of quitting weed that applied to me. 1. Getting my time back. What I quickly learned when I...
Why is he talking so slow? He's talking like a baby. Talking to a baby, sorry.
Quit smoking weed was that if you don't value your time, time won't value you. Weed simply made me content with being bored all the time. So I got my time back. I started to actually sleep a lot better after I got through the initial withdrawals, so my energy improved significantly. I also reclaimed a lot of my physical health back. I was starting to suffer from cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which was leading to a lot of anxiety and depression. So my physical health improved, which in turn improved my mental health. Money. I started to get more money in my bank account, which allowed me to pursue building a business for myself. Pretty awesome. Benefits.
I was a chronic cannabis user, and 4 months ago, I cold turkey gave it up. As an ADHDer, here are some of the things that I've noticed. Personally, I was smoking almost every single day after work, and I realized that the reason I was doing it was because I didn't want to be left alone with my thoughts or my feelings. Great. And one of the main reasons I realized this was because when I quit cold turkey, I was left with all those thoughts and feelings I was scared of, and I had to face them. And honestly, that was an incredibly hard but really important experience. And now I don't feel fearful of spending time alone. I have been able to pick up old hobbies that I used to love and create new hobbies now. Whereas before, I was just a zombie on the couch watching TV or scrolling on my phone and binge eating. I am all for using cannabis, but for someone like me that has an incredibly addictive personality, it was so easy for me to abuse it, and so I was. What has been your experience with cannabis as an ADHDer? Because I feel like the spectrum in which people manage or deal with their symptoms and being ADHD is like insane. So tell me. I was a chronic cannabis user, and 4 months ago, I cold turkey gave it up. As an ADHDer, here are some of the things that I've noticed. Personally, I was smoking almost every single day after work, and I realized that the reason I was doing it was because I didn't want to be left alone with my thoughts or my feelings. Great. And one of the main reasons I realized this was because when I quit,
Nice.
I would love to quit smoking.
Okay.
And my question is, do you have any tips that would help me out?
For sure. I have a couple of tips, but can I ask why would you like?
I was a chronic
I would love to quit smoking.
Okay.
And my question is, do you have any tips that would help me out?
For sure. I have a couple of tips, but can I ask why would you like to stop?
I mean, isn't it what you all doctors would love us to do?
So ideally, that would be nice, but my goal is to not judge and to help you with whatever your goal is. So a lot of times we like to ask questions to see, like, if you're ready to make a change. But it looks like you're ready to make a change. So, I have some tips for you if you want to hear it.
Well, I would like to be more productive and less sleepy.
Okay, awesome. So here's the thing. A lot of times when people stop using, marijuana, you can have issues with your appetite. You can have
This is the realest comment. Niels Vegas, 773 says, I'm on my third day. Mind you, I'm also doing 24 hours fast. It's all in the mind. You have to want to change. You have to want to quit. I caught myself being depressed, angry, mad when I didn't have weed. I felt like I couldn't watch movies or eat food or hang out with my family without smoking. That is so me. I smoke before everything. I smoke before I go to sleep. I smoke after I wake up. I smoke usually before I eat something or have like a big meal. I smoke before I watch the movies. Like, name it. I smoke before I clean. The only thing I don't smoke is like taking a shower. I don't smoke before I take a shower because you just take a shower and you don't need to. But like if I'm gonna like do something, go out, I need to smoke first just because I think it's gonna like enhance the situation or make it better. But in reality, it's just the same. I think it's just probably even worse. Probably don't even really get to recognize or feel the moment. But
have strange dreams. It can be uncomfortable, right? And some of the withdrawal symptoms should start to fade away after a couple of days. But fortunately,
I'm out of dates that I just can't socialize, sleep, or eat without it. That's hilarious.
after about a couple of weeks, like around 2 weeks or so, you should be back to close to where you were before. And it can be pretty difficult to stop. So you want to pace yourself and don't judge yourself along the way.
I would love to quit smoking.
Okay.
And my question is, do you have any tips that would help?
For me, I was just like using marijuana as a way to feel like if I smoke this, I'm gonna feel like chill, and I know exactly what to say, but I didn't. Now I'm like, I know exactly what to say and do. All around, I'm just a better grown up, and I'm so much sure about myself. I don't walk over things, or I don't just sweep things under the rug anymore. If something bothers me, now I address it right away, and I'm less emotional, which is really dope.
Nice. Pun intended.
Yeah. Oh, it's for me. I was just like using marijuana as a way to feel like if I smoke this, I'm gonna feel like chill, and I know exactly what to say.
guy posted his vid 3 hours ago.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Sobriety University. Man, it's been a minute since I made a video, and I really wanted to kind of get back into things and, say what's up. Today, I'm going to be talking about how I went from lonely, stoned, depressed, virgin, to finally getting a girlfriend, and how quitting marijuana in particular, and then alcohol as well, helped me get to that next phase of my development. It's something that I always wanted as a kid. And to be honest, not having a girlfriend, not having a relationship was a big motivator for me to start using substances.
Yeah, I wonder if you guys can still see me all the way lean back in my chair from here. No, you can't. So, put this down. Boom. What the fuck? I have like a hoodie and shit back there. So ignore that shit.
Sticking with substances because it filled that hole that I felt. It filled that, pun intended, it filled that emptiness I felt from being single, from not being able to have the confidence or courage to go talk to women. Obviously, this can pertain to whatever, sex you're into. And really, the main key here is that because I wasn't able to develop healthy relationships, ones that I really wanted and I really craved, I developed a relationship with Mary Jane per se. Mary Jane didn't judge me. She didn't reject me. She was always there for me. Now, funny enough, she kind of stopped working per se, but in the grand scheme of things, I was always able to turn to Mary Jane to get my high. Since a kid, I really wanted, a relationship. As soon as I started to see girls that I thought were pretty in elementary school, it's something that I really wanted and I really fantasized about, I dreamt about. And I was pretty socially awkward, to be fair. Like, I didn't have great social skills. I wasn't good at sports. I didn't have, really anything of social status within my, peers. And because of that, I felt a lot of depression. I felt a lot of loneliness. I had friends, but none of them as well were like dating. We were all just a bunch of single guys, like, doing our thing. And just make sure this is on. Yep. And, hanging out, playing video games, playing Pokemon or whatever. So when I got into, I think, middle school, I started to get into sports a little more, and I kind of started to realize I actually had some athletic ability. So I slowly got into the more, you could say, crowd of people that were in athletics and stuff. And those were, in my school anyway, like so-and-so popular kids. So I got involved in that crowd closer towards like 8th grade. And then once I got into freshman year in high school, I really started to excel at running. And so I was in the paper a lot. I started to get some more, social confidence. I started getting moved up into the more advanced classes in terms of like, intelligence, you could say. And it was, I was never dumb. I just never really took school seriously because I always felt like this depression and empty. In high school and started to gain some popularity. I started to, I had a girlfriend here and there, but nothing ever really came of it. I still hadn't developed those, my internal confidence. So on the outside, I was confident. On the outside, I had clout and status and stuff. But when it came down to actually like believing in who I was, I did not have that ability. So what happened from there is that I got into college. I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison, big university. Obviously a lot of pretty girls there. And I started smoking weed right after high school. Right? I remember the night I went to, I just called up this random guy that I knew was a stoner. I'm like, hey, can I come smoke weed real quick? And they're like, wait, what? You, man? Like, 'cause I was like kind of straight edge. Like, I did sports. I got super high. I drove to Taco Bell, and I was just like, shaking.
I do not believe this guy smokes weed, but I think he has a channel dedicated to smoking weed. So
shaking because I was like, I had so much adrenaline, but I felt alive. I felt alive for the first time in a long time. I got to college, and a lot of people on my floor smoked, including girls. So I thought, I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm finally around people that I like and that I think are cool and have value and are all stoners and sweet. So I started smoking weed pretty regularly once I got to college. And throughout this time, I still had the goal to get a girlfriend and like have the college hookup experience, and I never did. I just couldn't figure it out. I just didn't know how to attract women. And now that I was smoking weed, I was even more self-conscious and more in my head, which I actually liked for myself, but I didn't like it when I was trying to like date or whatever. A lot of my friends were able to do it, so I felt like something was missing still. And because of that, that led me to continue to smoke and to smoke and to smoke until my sophomore year, where I was smoking every single day. I was skipping classes to get high, smoking all day long, basically. And from there, like, it just kind of progressed and progressed. And if you see my story on this channel, I started selling, I started getting into dealing, and just I needed my supply, needed my hit. I pretty much made no money because I would just smoke it all the profit. And then I would, and what happened was I got robbed of like 10 grand. Some guys broke into my house that I was selling to and stole a bunch of weed. And so, man, it was a rough little path. And obviously that whole time I didn't have one date. I didn't, so I was just miserable. And because of that, again, I just kept smoking weed because it was the one thing that gave me a sense of safety or wholeness, even though it was temporary and didn't last. So I got soaked. I still wasn't able to go meet people, and so I ended up getting into cold approach. And cold approach, if you guys know, obviously, is when you go up to a woman in the street, or vice versa, whatever.
I started smoking weed when I was like 14 years old, and I remember the first couple times like sneaking out of my buddy's house in the middle of the night, going out behind this local elementary school and like hitting a grav bong. And then from there, for the next couple years, it was like every couple days I would smoke weed. Pardon me, every couple weeks, like every weekend, every other weekend. My buddies and I would score some weed, maybe like a couple grams for fucking $40 or something. Get like a paper, roll it up, or like a little bowl or something, and all together, however many of us there were, 6, 7 people, get together and like smoke. Now before this, I was vehemently anti-weed, right? I remember from health class, like the stories of how it would destroy your brain or whatever it was, how it would just instantly make you the laziest person on earth, and all of your prospects and future would be out the window. And I would make these comments on YouTube, like telling people this crazy story I'd invented about my buddy's mom, who forced him to smoke and he died. And I would share the story trying to like scare people into it. But then when you're scared of a lot of it. But then
story, guys. How did he go from full beard, full hair? It's the same guy.
So today is 135 days since.
Absolutely different guy. One thing about cannabis that can be challenges in the detox process is the endocrine effects. A lot of people don't realize that cannabis is an endocrine disruptor. Almost a feeling like you're supposed to be doing something but can't remember what it is. But it's so true. And you need a smoke guy.
I filmed my first video doing the,
This is, I think I just cracked it. Madeline Chutal, 7459 says, one thing about cannabis that can be challenging in the detox process is the endocrine effects. A lot of people don't realize that cannabis is an endocrine disruptor. When you start to quit smoking, get healthy, and healed, your endocrine system starts to return to normal. While this is a good thing, a lot of people who are long-term smokers are used to their natural self. This can lead to feeling bored, restless, almost a feeling like you're supposed to be doing something, but you can't remember what it is. If you experience this, do what you can to stay busy and things that build skills and challenge your mind. Sorry, you don't have my glasses on, so she is crying hard. But yeah, almost a feeling like you're supposed to be doing something but can't remember what it is. This is so true because I had this feeling on my 2-3 day streaks. It's the longest I've probably quit for, but this is for real. I feel it. I know, I can feel it. This is for real. The last 2 days, I spent like at least $80 on weed. And I don't want to quit because of the financial damage that it's doing to my pockets, but rather the time that it takes away. You know, being a chronic weed smoker for the last 5 years, I would say really hard, like everyday smoker for the last 5 years. Obviously, one of the biggest things, what makes me want to quit, is just feeling like, this time goes by so fast. It's probably because I'm not doing shit. Just getting high, falling asleep, and just letting the time go by. Just probably the number one reason why.
Daily live updates of quitting cannabis. Now, for those of you that are brand new to this channel, I really appreciate you being here. And if you're just looking for like the tips and tricks and what's worked, skip later on in the video. I'll try to put a little timestamp up here. But I want to start out by addressing my subscribers and those of you that have been on the journey thus far, that have been looking forward to the updates, that have been appreciating the updates, encouraging me, sharing your story. I really appreciate you guys specifically. And I want to start out by addressing you because I know that for most of you, the reason that you value these videos, as you've said to me, is because of the authenticity, because I'm just be willing to fucking spark a J with the boys or whatever it was. Or am I going to really try to stay committed to that path of not smoking at all? And so that was back and forth in my mind. I got a lot of feedback from you guys. And it's funny because I remember the one piece of, and then I smoke again. And then the next day I did it again. And that was the point that I knew, like, okay, I'm basically back, I'm basically back to this point where I am predominantly looking forward to smoking. And so I basically closed the bag up and I was like, okay, how am I going to, get past this, right? Because all my mind is telling me is like these little ways that I can negotiate allowing myself to smoke. And so what I did was I had the like the herbal smoking blend with me. Typically when I travel, like I take most of my stuff with me. And so I don't have that much stuff in my house in general, but so I had my like herbal smoking blend. And I don't know why. I mean, I think there was probably part of me that was like, you are going to smoke, and so like, how can we cut this? How can we use this to mitigate? Basically, so we don't slip back into this place where we're smoking all the time. So I took the rest of the weed that I'd opened up from this bag and I put it into the herbal smoking blend. And then I started smoking that, but I guess I tried to use that as a way to cut back, but eventually I realized like, you're just gonna keep smoking it, right? And so after a few days of like smoking consistently cannabis, I put the cannabis into the herbal smoking blend, smoking the herbal smoking blend, and then I just ended up dumping that out too.
Telehealth wellness, where we can actually provide free health care for those impacted by addiction. And again, we do both the person who is struggling with addiction or their family members.
Right, because it really is a system. We've had a lot of cases at Ascend Health Center where a patient will come in, they say, oh, we need a ketamine treatment or I need this. And there's been times where we said, actually, I think it's your wife that we need to treat first. Because the way American medicine works, it is, okay, here's the one person, everything focuses on them. But instead we've noticed, no, this is a whole family unit. There's a lot of people connected to this person. So we look at health almost like a Jenga tower, where, okay, where is the one piece of wood that we need to take out of this whole situation where the problems will crumble and then we come up with solutions. And sometimes it is, okay, it's the son or it's the daughter or it's the husband or it's the actual family dynamic. There's nothing that's physically wrong. It's just the way that these people are interacting with each other.
That is exactly it. So when I look back at my dad's life and like what spurred all this in the first place, like how did my dad have an addiction? Like how could that possibly happen? I thought our life was like fine. I mean, we grew up in a fine home, like we had great school systems, everything that should be going right, should have been going right. So
what evidence have we got that alcohol is bad for the brain and bad for the rest of our body, especially in moderation?
Well, the U.S. Surgeon General just came out wanting to put cancer warning labels on all alcohol. That's sort of big evidence. I mean, 3 years ago, the American Cancer Society came out against any alcohol because drinking any alcohol increases your risk of 7 different cancers. And that's a big deal. And then the evidence.
So I was a regular cannabis user for years, and I always had this justification in my mind as to why I needed it in my life. So if you're a consistent user of cannabis and you feel like you've reached the point where you finally felt like you've identified that this is a potential problem for me, I'm going to share with you some of the obstacles that I face and how to overcome them, and maybe you can apply them to your life and help you finally quit weed for good. So I didn't start smoking the devil's lettuce till like my senior year in high school. It was really weird because in my friend group, I definitely had a couple, guys that were smoking very early on. Luckily for me, I was in the sport of wrestling, so it was something that I was able to attach myself to really be hyper focused on like this one thing, and I was just being the best wrestler that I possibly could. In turn, I also wanted to be the best person I could, so I didn't want to put something in my system or use something that would negatively impact that result. One of the things that I can vividly remember about my first time using weed and cannabis was just how like excited and euphoric I felt using it. I had a lot of issues with my self-confidence going into my middle school and early high school years because I was picked on a lot. I was picked on a lot. I wasn't very tall, I was kind of short, so I was always an easy target to be picked on. So this definitely didn't help my self-confidence. I wasn't very confident in my own skin. I felt like people didn't like me even if they didn't know me. So it was a hard thing to navigate in my early life, really. I also feel like I have an addictive personality. So like I always had this hobby that I got super hyper focused on, and I would do it like clockwork all the time. For instance, wrestling, and that was something that I was able to latch on that maybe a little more consistently just because I had brothers that were in it too. But like things like whatever, like early on doing this YouTube channel, like I would do a couple videos and then I would sputter out because I would get super hyper focused, and then I would lose, I don't know if it's lose interest, but I just definitely lost like the focus on like as to what I'm trying to achieve, even if it's like a specific goal or whatnot. And really what contributed to that, to me not following through on those actions was because I was addicted to weed. And so as I talk about some of these obsessions, the biggest obsession that I really had in my life during this time was not just weed, you know.
He is so right. Like me being a heavy weed smoker, I know like smoking weed makes it hard. It makes it hard to commit to like anything, like having a routine. It makes it hard to commit to a routine because like, you know, at one point I was saying, okay, it's just the indica that's making me tired, but you know, it's just weed in general makes you just, if it's not like making you sleepy, it's making you feel like a certain type of like fatigue or like fog, not 100% clear, and then there's anxiety that comes with it. So it just pushes you away from your goals and your routine. And I know like no one's probably watching this right now, but if you are watching this, and hopefully it helps, but I know that I'm making this mostly just for myself to just watch over again, because I know I need to stop. Like I cannot keep it cannot, there has to be something, there has to be more, there has to be something else to life than smoking weed and just getting high 24/7.
The greens, it was video games. And video games was very exciting for me because, you know, my brothers, you know, my friends all did it. It was something that kind of brought us together at the time. And, you know, we always got the brand new PlayStation. We always had the Xbox, always had the new shiny toy. And, you know, Call of Duty was very addicting. And, you know, really started to take a turn for the worse when I tried for the first time smoking and then playing video games. It was like, it was like a whole new world opened up to me. So when I was playing video games with a high, it was like, it was just a rush. It was like an endorphin, dopamine, crazy influx.
This is where I started too. This is what got me fucked up. That's why I feel like I'm different. That's what got me more addicted than anyone else. It's because I was a gamer before the weed shit. And then once I got to college, I met a lot of friends and got introduced to a lot of people that smoked weed. I just started smoking weed a lot, like heavily too. I got addicted to it. And then I started so I was playing video games and smoking weed, and I just started doing both of them. And that's what really got me fucked up, because then I would need to smoke weed to play the game. And then it got to a point where I thought smoking weed made me better at the game. So then now I was smoking weed to be better at the game. And it's just so bad. That is so bad. You're smoking weed because you think it's making you get better at a game.
In it, you know, I could really spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours into the wee hours in the morning playing video games while I was high and really not feel affected at all. But as I began transitioning into my early 20s, maybe 24, 25, something like that, you know, I started to realize that, you know, I was a loser. I was not living a fulfilling life, at least according to the dreams that I manifested in my head. You know, I definitely wanted more out of my life. And it was super weird because I always had a job. You know, I was always working. But when I really started to notice that it was becoming a problem was when I would skip work, I would call in for work, and I would just stay home all day smoking weed and playing video games. It was very damning to my life. But at the time, because I was so sucked into that world, it's so hard to, you know, to really identify that this is the reason that's causing me to not be fulfilled in my life. Or, you know, it caused me to be situationally depressed several times. And it's hard coming out of that, especially when you're not contributing to what might actually be the problem, which for me was video games and weed. So since quitting weed 131 days ago, here are some of the things that some of the challenges I faced and some of the ideas about like how I was able to overcome them and how they made me feel too once finally quitting weed during this time. So my sleep, when I was smoking, I definitely justified it just like I justified actually doing it as to like, oh, I need to smoke to sleep, or I need to smoke to relax my mind and just, you know, forget about the day's stressors. And that was, you know, definitely not a positive thing, even though I definitely felt like it was a positive thing at the time. So I would think I was getting maybe, you know, some nights were maybe 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. And yeah, it was just something that I never really paid too much attention to because I got so much joy out of like doing that thing. My head was so wrapped up in playing video games and smoking with my friends. It was just something that drew me in addictively. It was definitely a bad habit. So early on in these 131 days, as I really started to focus on fixing my sleep, while I wasn't smoking, it was definitely a little bit, I didn't sleep hard, like all the way through. I wasn't getting that sound sleep. I also noticed that I was quick to anger. I was very irritable. Not a great feeling because I'm definitely a super patient person. So it was really glaring to me when I realized like, oh, I've kind of got a short fuse. And the reason why I had a short fuse was because, I was smoking every night and I wasn't really letting my body recover from the continuous weeks and months and at some point, years of just continuous cannabis abuse. Another one of my biggest struggles, and this might have been the absolute biggest one, sleep is super important, but for me, the procrastination. I would smoke, I would play video games, and that's all I would do for the rest of the night. I'd go to work, get home, smoke, play video games. And it was just a perpetuating cycle that I lost myself during this time. So because of the obsession, it was a hard thing for me. I never was able to find success in my life because I wasn't doing the things that I was manifesting in my head. Again, the dreams that I kind of were drawing up, like I want to be a coach. I want to have a business. I want to do X, Y, and Z. I was doing none of that stuff. All I was doing was smoking weed and playing video games. So obviously, at the time it was like, okay, well, I was getting depressed, but I didn't know why I was getting depressed. Well, I was getting depressed because I wasn't doing the thing that I'm saying I was going to do. Like, I'm going to be successful one day. Well, how am I supposed to be that if I'm just maintaining these bad habits and, justifying why I was doing them? So transition into my early 30s, I definitely learned a lot throughout these years. Like I said, I was able to stop every once in a while, but I do feel like it was more of I didn't have access to it at the time, moving from Michigan to Wisconsin, but I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be successful. I knew that I needed to find a way to break this habit for good, and despite all these realizations that I had in my life, I still found it really difficult to finally stop. I remember one of the first things that really started to help me finally start to break away slowly was just developing my mindset. I knew that if I was able to really break down why it is I was smoking, what it was affecting a lot, but some of the most important things in my life that was affecting my relationship with my wife, me being able to achieve the dreams and goals that I set out to achieve. I need to get clarity from that mindset and really start to build on the skills that it was going to take to finally break free and quit weed for good. So I really started to dedicate my attention to the positive things in my life that I had going for me to kind of draw myself away from all that negative that I was doing. So, traveling with my wife, I've got a newborn daughter now. So being a better father, being a better husband, exercise was a huge one. Exercise is the most important thing that you can ever do in your lifetime. I truly believe that because it's going to help, your mental health, it's going to help your physical health, and it's going to help your spiritual health. And, I was definitely still exercising while I was smoking throughout those years, but it just wasn't as like dialed in as I could be. So like now it's just, I'm there, I'm focused, I'm in it. I know exactly what I'm doing. Before it's like, okay, well, I'm just kind of here because I've been doing it, right? I've got the wrestling background, I've got the sports background. I was always active, but it wasn't I never had that goal like I'd had in wrestling. So I just didn't have some sort of direction. And because of that, it was easy for me to fall into these addictive habits. So my biggest breakthrough finally came when I just admitted the truth. And the truth was that I was the one that was in control of quitting, right? Ultimately, it was my decision. And everything that I've been going through wasn't because of the weed. I mean, it definitely contributed to like allowing me to be more easily manipulated. But the decision to ultimately quit was going to be me. No amount of success. No one was was going to be able to come help me overcome this. It was something I had to do by myself. And, I built up the story for years and years and years as to why I needed it in my life and how much better it made me and how much better it made me feel. And it was all lies. So I definitely just finally got to the point in my life where I was able to admit the truth. It was not helping me. It was making things worse in my life. All the success that I was dreaming about, everything that I would talk to my wife about what we were trying to build, it was a hindrance. And it took, really destroying my life to the point where I was almost unable to come back from it was when I finally was able to admit this truth to myself. And it's really changed everything for me. My daughter, my wife, they deserve a man who's going to be there to contribute and help build a fantastic future for them. And I want to be the example, right? It's put yourself in the best position to be successful, work on your health, have the best body that you possibly can have, and everything else will fall into place. That's what they deserve. And I realized, I was definitely failing. I was not hitting that mark at all. So it was just got to the point where there was I was going to either change or, I would die trying. And here we are now, 131 days. And I can proudly and honestly say that, I've gotten to the point where I don't believe I'll ever go back to it. Just for everyone out there, it's like, I'm not in any way demeaning cannabis use. I do think if you're in a specific age group, you're a middle schooler to high school age, 12 to 18, 12 to 19, probably not a great idea to start on, smoking. It's not going to serve you. If anything, it's going to contribute to more negative habits in your life. Now, there are people out there, in their 50s, 60s that do enjoy occasional smoking. It's like, if that does not stop you from being successful, it doesn't stop you from being the person that you're supposed to be, then by all means. I think there's some great research. There's some great stuff going on in terms of cancer and how it's helping, cancer patients. I mean, there's so much other stuff out there that are good, right? Seizures, there's a lot of great things that's going on. So just the actual smoking part is just a little bit different. It's not as heavily, backed. It's definitely more damning, I feel, for younger, kids and teenagers and, moving into their early 20s. It's something that I felt like it's probably best to steer away from it. Again, with everything, if you're doing it and you just personally feel like it's not stopping you from being that successful person, then by all means, this video isn't for you. But if you're someone who's definitely felt like you are having a very hard time quitting and you're not really sure why, hopefully that this message will kind of help you understand it a little bit more. Self-reflection, guys, is going to be the hugest, the biggest contributing factor to you really figuring out, is this damaging? Am I ruining my life because of this? Am I doing habits that I potentially would not do because I was under the influence of weed? I was high all the time. Over time, even though early on I was feeling great, over time I started to realize, like, I don't feel good. And because I was addicted, I just couldn't get out of that. But, you guys need to evaluate this for your own lives and really apply it to everything you're doing. Is this serving my future? Is it helping me push towards these goals, X, Y, and Z? Again, self-reflection, self-evaluate, okay? All right, so if you guys struggled, as I just mentioned, please, feel free to share your experiences down below. Let me know if it's something that you're still working on or if it's something that you've overcome. Share your experiences down below. People that are going to be watching this video are going to want to hear from you. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear your success, and I want to hear what your hardships are, what the obstacles you're trying to overcome, and what helped you finally break through that plateau. So if you guys are looking for a little bit more backstory on me, I want you guys to watch this video next.
That's it for day one, guys. See you guys tomorrow on day two. Peace out.